Good news rarely makes the headline. Have you ever noticed that the world tends to be negative in most everything? Or at least that's what grabs our attention. Today, we have a 30% chance of rain, which is crazy because the exact same scenario could read like this. Today, there's a 70% chance of sunshine. Or, we've all had those scenarios. Growing up, I could bring home a report card full of A's and have one C. And guess what we talked about the most? You know, son, what about this C? I'm gonna write something down, and then you read it out loud, okay? Go ahead, read it out loud. Okay. I wonder. How did you read it? Let me just tell you that the majority of the people in the world, they read it, you don't matter, give up. Not, you matter, don't give up. Do you see the difference there? Can you imagine Paul's advice in Philippians 4:8? If we read it with the perspective of the world, it would read like this. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is untrue, whatever is dishonest, whatever is wrong, whatever is impure, whatever is ugly, whatever is negative, if anything is unjust or sad, think about such things. When you put it in extremes, you can easily see the contrast. Because what it really says is finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Can I tell you a secret? Life is filled with peaks. You see really great moments where everything is working well for you, right? And at the same time, life is filled with valleys. Really low moments in life. But even in the valleys, there's always something working really well in your life. And even on the mountaintop peaks of life, everything will not be perfect. Life is always a mixture of great and horrible at the same time. Let's look at this a different way. On the mountaintop, we have these peaks in our life where things are really great, right? And sometimes that happens more than one time in a row. So life may look like this. But when we put all of the peaks together, it actually creates valleys. And most of us look at life as peaks and valleys. Peaks and valleys. Reality is, they're happening at the same time. So life actually looks more like this. When we look at both the peak and the valley at the same time, look at how much room there is in the middle. There's a lot going on there, and it's really good. It's not great, and it's not horrible. It's really good. And sometimes I forget to be thankful for all the good, not just the great or the horrible things that I like to point out all the time. But there's a lot of space in the middle that's just good. In verse 9, Paul says, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. And in verse 6 and 7, Paul says this, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. Do you think it's possible to have peace if your state of mind is constantly being drawn down to the valleys? Whether you believe in God or not, whether you think the Bible is full of truth or not, having peace in your life is this massive goal for everyone, and people will go to some crazy lengths to try to find peace. The crazy thing is the culture we live in views the things around them in such a negative light that it becomes a way of life to live down here. In fact, I'm even tempted right now to talk to you about all the statistics of anxiety and depression among teens to try and lure you into listening instead of just offering you the good news. So let's skip that and let's just jump into the good news. There is a peace principle here in Philippians 4:8 that I'd love for you to understand. Before we jump into the peace principle, I'd like to hear from some students on what they think about peace. So let's take a look. Thank you so much for taking time to come and hang out and talk about peace. Topher, Lily, Gabe, I really appreciate your time. Are you ready for some questions?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Here's the first one. What does it mean to have peace?
To like it's all quiet. Maybe you're like in the forest, like it's super nice out.
Okay.
And yeah.
So just quiet,
Yeah, quiet,
calm.
calm.
Okay. What do you think, Lily?
Like relaxation, just a place where I could just rest and think.
Awesome. What do you think, Tom?
I feel like it's sort of a state of mind where you're just like calm, you're sort of in the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. So rather than like external, you're saying it's like a state of mind. That's a good way to think about it. Okay. Where does peace come from? What do you think?
I think it comes from like inside, like your idea of peace. Like it could be different. So like just in your mind, maybe.
Okay.
I feel like I have to make it happen.
Yeah.
Like it's my option to be in peace.
Sure.
Maybe it's like a gift from God where we get to just drop everything stressful and just be calm, be in the moment.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, good. Last question here. Where is the most peaceful place that you can think of?
I feel like the snow is really calming. Somewhere cold. Heat is not very calming to me. I kind of.
Okay, somewhere cold.
Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me, or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace will be with you.
All right, cool. What do you think?
Probably getting like a pedicure.
Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think of such things. To have peace in your life, scratch that. To have peace from God, which is better than any other temporary peace we can try to find, in a world that seems to constantly remind us of the valleys we are in. It will take effort. So, we'll start with one step this week as we begin our conversation about the peace principle. Step 1 to the Philippians peace principle is to think about your thinking. I call it dwell. If you are like me, I function better as a human when I have a to-do list. My wife will make me a list, and I find it so very helpful and satisfying when I can look at it for direction and check off what has to be done. Without this list, I tend to dwell on other things not on the list that distract me from what I'm supposed to be dwelling on, which is the to-do list. Even more important than a to-do list and more helpful to us is a to-think list. In Philippians 4:8, Paul has essentially given us this master to-think list, highlighting the types of thoughts we should dwell on if we want to produce peace in our lives. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. Can I tell you about a beautiful creation God has given us to illustrate how to live a life in a world where there's always a mixture of great and horrible, always a peak and a valley at the same time? The bison. The bison is the only animal where when a storm is looming, it runs towards the storm. In fact, it runs through the storm to the other side. Somehow, instead of being afraid and trying to avoid the storm, which is impossible, right? In life, there will always be a mixture of great and horrible. Or instead of freezing and standing still during the storm, the bison will charge through it, focused on the good on the other side. So, what might be a 4-hour storm for a deer or an elk or cattle would end up only being a 30-minute storm for the bison. Because the bison thinks differently about the storm. Now, I understand. A bison cannot articulate why it does this, but go with me here. It seems like the bison is thinking about what is lovely, even in the midst of a valley. Consequently, giving it more amounts of time in peace than any other animal on the plains. If you are able to think about your thinking and focus your thoughts on whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, whatever is admirable, or anything excellent or praiseworthy, would it not make sense that you would experience more peace from God than others around you? You see, others, they get stuck and they focus on the valley. But what I'm asking you to do, the peace principle, is to dwell on whatever is lovely. May the peace of God be with you as you think about your thinking and dwell on peace.